Appendix 1. Next Step Philosophy. I promised you a section on the way I live my life now, so here it is. I have nicknamed it the Next Step Philosophy, but it is more a way of operating in the world than a philosophy, taking the next step. The key to the next step is to understand that in order for you to find out what you need to do for the next step, you needed to have taken the prior step. So the process is to watch for messages and inner guidance as to the next step, not expecting to be given the entire plan. When you receive the next step, you must take it. If you don't, you can quickly get off the path and fall out of being in the flow. This is all said in the context of a person following his or her I am, that is someone who is asking for guidance from his or her higher self, or divine guidance as to what to do and trying to reduce the influence of the ego in the system. Intuition. Another word for divine guidance is intuition. You need to develop your intuition in order for this philosophy to work. The way to do this is mainly to practice, is actually doing whatever you are asked to do, after asking for guidance. Obviously, the first thing to do is to ask. This is preferably done during meditation or when you are quiet enough to hear the very first thing that comes after asking, and not to dismiss it out of hand. There seems to be two bits of the brain that are operational during this process: the normal, rational mind. This is a very useful tool as it can point out problems and work out solutions. But it has one major disadvantage when it comes to intuition. It tries to negotiate, to compromise or change what first came into your awareness. So the process is, first be present through meditation or being in the now, then ask. Then listen intently to the first thing that comes up. When you are practiced, you find that messages come without consciously asking. The problem is trying to figure out which messages to follow and which ones are just noise in the system. All I can say is that you need to be willing to make mistakes, and I have made a lot. Over time, you begin to perceive a difference which is quite subtle sometimes. With this process, you develop discernment. Second, after receiving the next STE, for example, what areas to investigate, things to do, people to meet, and so on, you need to actually do it. My dear friend and R.R. Nay uses this method to find out how to do something, say, "Beloved, I am presence. I don't know how to do X, you do, so show me how." Saying, yes. Yes is my favorite word. There is something very positive about having the word yes ready to hand. So when the next step is revealed, you need to say yes to it by taking action based on it. As I explained before, it is very unlikely that you get much more than the very next step to take in your life. You do not get the whole picture, just the next step. So, in order to get the step after that, the next step, you need to take the next step, and then see what to do from there. Another factor in this process is going with the flow, or living in abundance. If you start saying no to your guidance system, then it will stop giving guidance. You can become stuck, and some people can get depressed. I have never suffered from depression, so I am not the person to write about it. But from what I see, depression is often a precursor to a big shift or improvement in your life. If you are willing to say yes to what is being offered as the way to follow the next step. Basically, when life knows you are off track, depression can be a way of forcing you to find a solution and get back on track. Discernment. Before I explain other factors that may influence this process, I better give a word of warning. In addition to developing your intuition, your ability to move into the flow of life, it is wise to develop discernment. There is a big difference between discernment and judgment, but when you first start working with these psychological tools, discernment and judgment look very similar. The advice is not to judge. I think the simplest way of explaining this distinction is that judgment often involves judging others. Discernment is more about watching your own motives, your inner world of addictions and old behavior patterns. Developing discernment comes with practice, and quite a few mistakes, pineal gland and purification. Other factors that influence your ability to heighten your intuition include various purification procedures. It seems that intuition comes from on high, from the crown chakra, represented by the gold area in the painting, just about the man's head. It flows down through the brain, which has two halves, and is received by the pineal gland, which is located at the center of the brain between its two sides. It is often referred to the third eye chakra. I believe the pineal gland is a key element to the ability to receive clear guidance from your higher self, which obviously includes any personification of this aspect of you, including being personified as Jesus guiding you and holding your hand, or whatever way is most helpful way to envision your guide. Apparently the pineal gland calcifies with age, but it can be decalcified by drinking lots of pure water. Water without the addition of fluoride. Don't get me started on the way in which government is trying to dumb us down by adding fluoride in our water. Brain lateralization. I will just give a taste of my understanding of the brain and how it functions in relation to the pineal gland, the corpus cerebellum, i.e. The top part of the brain is split into two halves. There is a lot of speculation as to the way the two halves function. The two hemispheres are connected by the corpus callosum, which is slightly larger in women than men. This difference apparently means that female brains are not as lateralized as male brains, and this may account for the differences in the way we think and perceive the world. I am not so sure about the sharp differences between the two halves, as brain activity can be seen in both halves for most thinking processes. My theory is that, as the pineal gland is located, along with lots of other key parts of the brain like the thalamus and pituitary gland, in the center, and is therefore not lateralized. In order for the pineal gland to pick up clear guidance, the two hemispheres need to be working in harmony and not biased. If they are biased, i.e. the left side more active than the right side, then the guidance will be skewed one way or the other. So to get clear access to your own inner guidance in an unbiased way, we need quite a few steps to be taken. 1. Pineal gland, activated by reducing calcification. 2. Brain hemispheres functioning harmoniously. This can be achieved by optimizing the brain. 3. Endocrine system functioning in an optimal way. 4. Quiet the babbler through meditation. Silence. 5. Heart-centered listening to the guidance. Painting. I have attempted to portray all this in the painting by showing the pineal gland as a green and brown spot in the third eye chakra. This is linked by the golden cross to the heart chakra, shown as a vesica piscis of the pink and blue flames, or love and wisdom, and where they overlap. There is the tiny space of the heart, which is like a black hole into the universe. Tips on achieving the optimum brain states. A large part of my spiritual journey has been working with my brain and heart and understanding the interaction between the two. I can seem a bit brain and mind top heavy. This could be due to my Gemini sun sign coupled with Sagittarius rising in the ascendant when I was born. Anyway, here are my tips. 1. Pineal gland purification. The main tip is drinking from the mountain stream. While we may not all live near mountains and can drink our water delivered by rain and the melting of snow from mountains, we can still get close by accessing spring water or buying spring water in plastic bottles, but please make sure the pH of the water is tested at over pH 7. I was horrified to find that a lot of the bottled water being sold in South Africa has a pH of 4, which is acidic. 2. Balanced brain. There are a variety of activities to start the process of balancing the brain. They all come under the category of accessing your creativity, such as painting, making pottery, gardening, etc. This is all designed to reduce the left side activity, which spends so much time with computers, straight lines of office building, etc. Get out into nature. There is also an advanced method, which is to have your brain optimized. Brain State Technologies have an awesome biofeedback machine that for me was a huge healing. 3. Optimizing your endocrine system can be done by talking to your body. We can thank our bodies, our innate, as Cryon describes our inner intelligence. I also regularly do a meditation by Children of the Sun, which guides you through the process of helping your endocrine system to achieve high levels of performance. 4. Quiet the mind through meditation. There are lots of different meditation techniques. The one I started with is TM, or Transcendental Meditation. Vipassana, or Insight Meditation, and Shinei, or Calm Abiding, are both awesome techniques. My current preference is for the Hacking Reality meditation created by Higher Balance. A word of warning though, while meditation has the effect of quieting the mind, If you try in meditation to do this by using the mind to quieten it, it does not work. Instead, you need to concentrate on something else like the breath. But I am sure all you reading this book know perfectly well how to meditate. So finally, there is the Christian purification by the Holy Spirit through baptism. I cannot say much about this as I am not exactly sure how it happens. My guess is that it comes about by divine grace and cannot be generated by the human being. All the human being can do is prepare him or herself for it. The preparation is fasting and prayer, which is the Christian form of meditation. Fasting is a powerful spiritual practice. I follow the MT Athos diet and discovered that fasting may not be a total absence of food. On the fast days, the requirements is to cut out all food cooked in oil, cut out alcohol, wine, and eat only vegetables, no fish. So fasting is an important part of the purification process. For me, fasting is reducing our diet down to basic vegetarian food, raw vegan preferably, and also reducing the quantity eaten. For the brave, there are the 5-day water fasts, drinking from the mountain stream. As mentioned before, Drinking from the Mountain Stream is the name of an amazing book of the teachings of Milarepa, the great Tibetan saint. For me, this conjures up the idea of a wandering holy man who lives, like John the Baptist, out in nature feeding of nettles in the case of Milarepa, and drinking water from the streams that flow down from the mountains in Tibet. For those of us that live in towns and villages and cities, it is sometimes difficult to get to drink our water from a natural source like a mountain stream. So to try to replicate this, my suggestion is to find a good source of unfluoridated water, for example, from a local spring or bottled water from a pure source, pH 7+, and distill it. The distilling process is to boil and condense the water back into a collector so that it is like rainwater just fallen on the mountain. Distillers can be bought for as little as £200.